everybody, Jamie Pate here. Welcome to this channel, and we are celebrating National Card and Letter Writing Month. And with that, I just wanted to share with you what I'm calling a free card class. 3 ideas, 3 variations on a theme, some quick, fast, in a hurry. Let's get started. Okay, to prepare for our first pocket vellum card, we're going to need, well, of course, vellum. You need an 8.5 by 11 size piece of vellum. Pattern paper, I suggest 3. You could get away with 2. You're going to need a circle die, tag die. You don't have to. You can hand cut that. Butterflies are always a nice thing to have. I really like using the hole reinforcer punch. Of course, we're going to need scissors and some glue, as well as roller adhesive. Okay, I'm going to grab a score tool. Yes, this tonic trimmer comes with a score blade, but I don't use it very often. Actually, I just grab a score tool. Okay, so to start, we're going to make the vellum pocket part. There's lots of ways. I'm going to always repeat this. There's lots of ways to make things. In this particular instance, we're just going to hand do this one. We're going to cut this on the short end at 4 3/4. Set aside, you can make a smaller pocket out of that at some other point in time. And then we're going to turn it the long ways, and this will be trimmed to 9.5. I'm sure you can figure out something to use that for, but if not, toss it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to score along this long edge, along the 9.5. We're going to first start with 1 inch. So I'm going to move it over to the 1 inch and score that down. Then I'm moving it all the way to the 5 1/4. Okay. And all the way down. And then I need to have a 1/2 inch on my short end. Doesn't really matter which side you do that. I just turn it this way, so I'm going to make sure this is 1/2 inch all the way down. Careful with your vellum, depending on your vellum. It could want to crack when you fold it. Maybe it's a little bit more flexible than that. Of course, you could also use a pattern vellum on this if you want, but you're going to see what happens here in a minute. So to finish this pocket up, we're going to trim out this little part over here, this little 1 inch little part, okay? And then we're going to trim out this part here. And because we only need one little bottom flap, which is going to be the one that's left in the middle, to close up our pocket. Okay, so you see what's taking place here? So we're going to go ahead and fold in on our score line. I think I did this a little too long, so I'm going to need to trim that up. Nope, it'll be fine. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. Never fear. So just as the part where you just want to be a little careful, because it might want to crack on you. And yeah, see, it's just the way it is. It is not straight. Somehow I am not straight on this side. I'm just going to trim it out. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let me do that really quick here. And then make sure if this happens to you, don't cut your fold there. And then just fold this over. And that's your pocket. Okay. So I'm going to open it back up. I'm going to add some adhesive. I actually want this adhesive here. My favorite adhesive from ScrapbookCom is that roller dot. And then same thing here. And this is your pocket. Okay. And then I'm just going to grab any size you want. I'm choosing to grab a 2 inch here to give it a little thumb hole at the top. Completely optional to you what size you want that to be. The next thing we need to do is, I have already trimmed this out, but I will go through the motions. This could be any size piece of paper. This could be from a 12 by 12. This could be from a 6 by 8. But at this point you need an 8 inch by 4 inch piece of pattern paper. And this is going to show through the vellum. So think through that, how you want this to look. I wanted this to be so I could write here. So if it's a double-sided paper, just be mindful of what that's going to open up to on the other side. It's just folded in half. So we've finished with a 4 by 4 inch piece of cardstock folded pattern paper, and it's just going to fit right inside our pocket like that. So next I want to make a circle element, and I've grabbed this 49 Market paper. That's what this was, also from Kaleidoscope, this green in here. And it's fun to work with pattern papers that maybe go with the same collection, just because you know they're going to complement, but you don't have to. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and die cut. I wanted to grab that hummingbird, just thought it was super pretty. So I'll come back with this die cut out. And as a quick little tip here, this is something I love to do, is to find shapes to die cut pattern paper out of. It looks like this came in a collection like this, and I just love that so much. So it's going to end up being there. But while we're die cutting, I think I'm going to go ahead, and this is a piece of Vicky Boutin paper, I think from Discover and Create, and I'm going to cut my tag out of this paper. Okay, just a tip on this as well. Be mindful if what you are cutting your tag out of has some kind of pattern. This has grid lines, so I had to make sure that my lines were actually straight. And so I'm going to play with this a little bit and see where I want this, because I had some ideas, but I think I'm going to go a little different here, and I'm going to go, I think, in that direction. I like to have this with a hole in reinforcer. You don't have to, but oh, the pink would kind of be fun, huh? But I'm going to go ahead, I think I'm going to grab here from this white part. This was the scrap from when we cut out the die, so the circle. So hang on to your scraps. You might use them again somewhere. You might use them again a lot. I'm sure you can think of plenty of ways to add different elements. And so I'm going to punch this out and put that up into there. I think it's kind of helpful to go ahead and glue it in place first. Oops, don't use a lot of glue. It'll go crazy. Wow, look at me go. Yes, I am not a professional. I am just trying to get my little circle enforcer on there. Okay, so we're going to let that dry for a moment and then punch out that and add the ribbon to this. I have a video on my channel that I share DIY ribbon coloring. It's a great video. So much fun to be able to make your own things like that. I'm here for the DIY guys. Okay, so at this point, I'm trying to decide what kind of sentiment I want and how I want that sentiment to be shown off here. What I think I'm going to do is, I have this banner die. I will try to find out where I have this from, and I will go ahead and link it. I think I want to use this hello. And so let's cut this out of, let's just cut it out of white. And I don't even think I need it that long. So I'm going to cut it out of this piece of scrap paper and we'll go from there. Okay, so I decided on this hello from the spring flower cart stamp set. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this in black. If I don't like this, we will redo this later, but I think I'm going to go for that. And it's a fun, wonky little kind of font. And I'm probably even going to fold it at this point. You notice I did not die cut it all the way. I knew I wasn't going to need the little notch part at the top, but I do like to fold these guys out. I like that finished look on the top. Of course, it's going to need a hole punched in it. I like to mark it. I am not great at just guessing. Oh, the hole should go right here. Yeah, it'll never end up where it's supposed to be. And so I can just pop it in there, look for my little pencil mark, and there, I like that. So that's ready to go. I like to let it dry, that glue dry first. Otherwise, it kind of gums up my hole punch, and that's not a fun thing to have happen, is to gum up your hole punch. So go ahead and wrap your ribbon around here at this point. However you're going to do that, or if you're going to use twine. And I didn't say this at the beginning, but we actually probably might need some twine. Okay, once you get that tied on there, then wrap it around your other ribbon that's attached to the tag and get your ends, and then just give it another tie around that. Love these layers so much. Now, even though we are layering this up pretty good, there's really not a lot of elevation happening here, which is kind of okay for a tag, right? Especially if you are thinking you're going to send it in the mail. I think this kind of a card, did I say tag? I meant card. I think this kind of a card, though, is really awesome on a gift. So I know we're talking card making month here and letter writing. You got plenty of letter writing space inside here, but what a lovely gift this could make. I don't know about you, but I know I have baby showers coming up. I have weddings coming up. I have Mother's Day coming up and all that thing, right? And I'm not even going to use foam adhesive this time. And that is my friend. If you have followed me on here at all, you know how much I love to use the foam adhesive. So that's kind of one of our tricks for making these post friendly is don't layer it all up with the thickness of the adhesive foam. And if you do, then you're just going to have to figure out a different way to go about mailing that. Okay, we still have this here. Okay, I die cut that out. Oh my gosh, you guys, save this negative. Oh, I love using these. So great for your art journals or your layouts, page layouts, just for anything. I think that might end up there. And you can use glue on this again. It's just going to need some right there in the back because you want to be able to leave its leaves up. I'm going to put it here. I think the contrast is best here. Do you know how tempted I am, though, to pop this with a foam adhesive? Very, very tempted. So that is basically one idea for a pocket layered card. Obviously, you can put anything on the front of it, but I do love just how inviting it is. And you can just pull this guy up and you've got all this space for writing. It really is a great card make. Okay, for this card, we're going to do a variation on a theme, which I love to do. I mean, why we have all our stuff out? Let's just make another card that's really similar, right? So we did the vellum pocket card, and now we're going to take a lot of those same elements and craft us a little bit more interactive card. And so I'm going to be using the Misty in a Moment and peacock feathers, as well as shabby shutters. So to start, I'm going to use the trimmer again and the grid paper again. This time I need a 4 by 3.5 piece of paper. Also, again, I'm going to keep repeating myself because I do that. Let's use up our scraps. Let's use the things we already have. So that's 3.5, and then this is going to be 4. While I have this on the trimmer, I'm going to grab my scoring tool and along this 4-inch top, I'm going to move it over to 1/2 inch and go ahead and give it that score. And then it's ready. You can see this will be an interactive piece, right? Then it's ready for the card when we get to the assembling parts. I'm just going to set that aside. Okay, so this is a familiar pattern, right? I am going to trim this piece here 4.5. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and do 5 right to there. So I didn't quite get it there. I just went ahead and used the trimmer to cut that out instead of completely cutting a whole swath out. I know that paper is beautiful. Don't hate me. Okay, so we're going to set this aside. And then I'm going to take this scrap from the 6x8 pad. And I am going to decide, that's really fun, but I think that's going to be kind of covered up. But can you see how pretty a tag that's going to be? Heck, let's just go ahead and cut that. Okay, I'm going to trim that. I'm going to cut this out now. Tag is cut out. I went ahead and made the whole reinforcement. I'm going to set this aside next. Okay, so I want to make a sentiment, and I already kind of had an idea. I want to play with a little bit of mixed media for making this sentiment. So what I'm going to do is actually, before I put this on here, I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper, going to grab my ink blending brush and the shabby shutters and just add some color to this. sentiment that I want to add to here. You see the hello sunshine down here? I think I only want the hello. And I could cut it, but I think I'm going to try to avoid cutting it. And just pop it up here like this. I'm looking at it. That H is awfully close. So here's what we're going to do. Okay, I'm lining it up there because I know I'm going to trim it out and I'm going to probably notch the end. So as I come back in here and add peacock feathers to it, I'll grab the mint tape. And this peacock feathers, my ink is pretty juicy. I don't think I'm going to have to do this but one pass. However, what I don't want to do is the sunshine. So for the most part, I'm going to just wipe that ink off. And then I will go ahead and use a piece of mint tape just to make sure I don't get any other of that stamp on there. All right, so we'll get this on here. Actually, as I look at it, I might need another pass. What do you think? She says, yeah, we'll go ahead and do another pass, which will mean lifting up the mint tape and grabbing our ink again and just doing the same thing. Just repeat. It's a really nice finish. Just a simple single hello. I don't hate that at all. Then I think for my making abilities, I'm going to grab a ruler and a craft knife and trim it out that way. My scissors might not give me the straight cut that I actually want. Okay, now when this is done, let's guess. Do you think that's about 1 inch wide? 3/4 inch? No, then she does that and she doesn't cut it through all the way. She's got to come back in here with her scissors anyway and finish the cut. Okay, there we go. There we go. I think this is about, no, it's about 3/4 inches. Perfect. Because what I want to do is I want to make 2 more banners. I just want banners to just really be fun and loose on this card that we're making. We almost have all our parts together, and once all the parts are together, then we can start assembling. Okay, one more thing we need to do before we can assemble all of this card is come in here with a piece of scrap paper. This is the same pattern that is on the back side of our tag. We need to attach the tag to the card base. So I am creating a 1 inch wide scrap of paper. I then have scored it halfway, so 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. And we will attach it to the trim, we'll attach it to the tag, and then we will trim it, is what I want to say, away. So you'll see what I mean here in a moment. I have my tag here. I'm going to add a little strip of adhesive there. Add this to the back, lining it up with the edge, with this left side edge when you have it turned over. Make sure that adhesive is down. You might even want to use double-sided adhesive tape. Might be a little stronger for you. And then come in here and trim this out so that you can't see it on the other side from the top. Just like that. And what we're going to do then now is add a strip of adhesive to this part of our flap. Fold it under, and I probably should have added the ribbon there already, but I kind of got ahead of myself. I do that. I get ahead of myself. I get excited about making anything, and then I'm like, oh, what can I add next? And bring it in about 1/2 inch or so, just about. No strict measurements here on this, but you do want a little bit of a border around your card base. Okay, then you have this other piece here as well. Give it some adhesive on its flap. And it's going to tuck in right under the tag. This will relax over time. It's a great idea to kind of lay it against your grid, and then again come in about right about a 1/2 inch. I want the gutter of this tag though to be, what I want to say, I want this part to be kind of be encompassed by the tag. Make sure it's straight as it can be, and then you have 2 interactive parts here on your tag, on your card. So it opens and opens. Ta-da! Okay, then what you're going to do is grab your twine again. I've already cut out 2 pattern pieces of paper and notch them, and they're about 3/4 inches wide. Just your basic, I do this all the time. I just cut strips of scrap paper and I V-notch them at the bottom. And then let's just add those 2, just like we did before. I'm just going to kind of skip through this because this is just like we did in the first card. All right, so that's tied on there. So you got kind of like the I did before. And then this is basically going to kind of help close everything down. So just adding adhesive here on this side, and don't use a piece of paper that has some, you know, some off stamping on it. Just make sure you have a piece of paper that doesn't have anything like that. And so your sentiment's going to come right across here like that. Going to kind of help keep everything closed. Ta-da! That's how that goes. And that's card number 2. For this card, I have pulled out my glass mat. I am going to use some oxides. We're going to make a really, really simple, basic background and a really, really simple, basic element that I think you can just repeat over and over again. So I wish I had the spray inks for this. I don't, but I'm just going to make the best use with what I have. It's one of my preach. I'm going to add some water to the smushed ink. I'm going to add some water to this is Vicki Boutin's foundations paper. I'm just going to dip once. We're going to see what we get. And I'm going to kind of move that around a little bit. I need to dab off when it gets sort of heavy on the sides. I kind of dab that off a little bit. And I'm going to move this down a little bit more, see what kind of interest I can get from that. Every time I do this, it's always different. Well, I'm just going to let this set aside and kind of do its thing for a moment. If I weren't showing a class and teaching you how to do this, I would take a moment and daub this up into an art journal, onto more of the foundations paper. I'd just be making a whole bunch more backgrounds, which is what I have been doing, and great, fun, creative play. We're going to let this dry. At this point, I could dip it in there for more. The actual image of this, it's pretty saturated. I'm not just happy with this at all. I'm going to make it work. So let's move on. All right, we're just going to assemble this baby up because this is one of the most concise cards I could share with you. I've already mounted the background to a piece of ultra thick cardstock that I folded into an A2 size, so that's pretty basic. I have die cut a piece of pattern paper, one of the pattern papers we used, that I think is going to work in here with some of this green here, and it is about 1.5 inch punch. I went ahead also and die cut from one of Tim Holtz's butterflies. This little butterfly from the pattern paper that was this. So have a little bit of the green showing, have a little bit of the ink markings showing, and it's just kind of a fun pattern. Just going to staple that together. At this point, I'm just going to add, because remember, we're just keeping this flat. This is all about flat. I know. Who is this woman, she says? Who is this woman who's doing everything flat? I love to use these dies that make these strips, and they just are perfect size for whenever you want to die cut small sentiments, like this Hello Sunshine on here. It just fits on there perfectly. I just have to trim off the edges, and then there you go. Let me show you another version of this that I did. It's got a lot more of the green in it. So if you feel like this needs more teal in the middle, you can go for that, but you just never know what you're going to get. Thank you so much for watching this National Card and Letter Writing Day free class. I'm so glad you're here. It's not possible unless you guys are here watching. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.